While everyone was staring at the Bitcoin chart, Virtual did a 3x. We spotted it early, before the hype and before the pump. In this video, I will walk you through the exact system that caught that move and how you can use it to catch the next one. Now, why should you listen? Recently, I was talking to a person who wanted to join CGP. Let's call him Jake. Jake lost $47,000 in just 3 months. I mean, he had the right coins, AI, RWA, but he bought Virtual at $2.30 instead of 40 cents, and he bought AIXPT at the top and sold hype right before it did a 10x. The same coins that made others millionaires destroyed his portfolio. Now the difference is that he was flying blind. He had no system and he was just following Twitter calls and was hoping to find that one tweet that makes him money. Now, out of 49 million tokens, maybe 50 will do a 10x this cycle. If you are picking randomly, you have a 0.0001% chance of success. So you're basically buying lottery tickets with your life savings. But here's the thing that will piss you off. The same people buying your bags at the bottom are selling them back to you at the top. They have systematic frameworks and you have hope and FOMO. Every day you don't have a system costs you another Virtual at 40 cents. Another early entry that becomes someone else's 5x. There's a specific pattern every 10x coin follows before it explodes. Miss this pattern and you will keep buying tops while others buy bottoms. I'm about to show you exactly what that pattern looks like and how you can also build a system that allows you to be early to place like Virtuals, hype, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's dive into the new narrative playbook. Step 1 is pretty simple. We just want to confirm that Bitcoin is moving upwards. And why do we do that? Because of the positive correlation between Bitcoin and altcoins. If Bitcoin is going up, altcoins are also likely to go up. But if Bitcoin goes down, altcoins are likely going to suffer even more. So under those conditions, you don't want to hold altcoins. Now, the super trend indicator will prevent us from falsely assuming that Bitcoin is in a downtrend. If you have more experience, you can, of course, also use other tools for that. For our example, we will use the super trend, the 50 daily moving average, and a custom 50 daily moving average Z-score indicator that I've built myself. You can use others, like obviously there are better Z-score indicators out there. I personally prefer building my own. And yeah, we will use those 3 indicators. I will put a link maybe in the Telegram channel of mine so that you can directly access them. So first of all, when we look at that chart picture right here, this is a bit like delayed because I was preparing this video for 2 weeks. Now, obviously, the chart will look a bit different now, but when we look at the chart picture of a couple of weeks back, we see that Bitcoin was actually in an uptrend, but close to going into a downtrend. And when we look at the chart today, we also see that Bitcoin is starting to go into a downtrend. Now, back then, we had still a green super trend. We had the 50 daily moving average was above the 200 daily moving average. And the Z-score crossed from below 2 to above 2. So we had this crossing right here. And when we have this crossing, we can usually say that we are going to go in an upward movement. Now, statistically speaking, if everything looks good, we are good to go into the next round. But again, if you don't have those conditions met, I would rather de-risk than try to find an altcoin which is going parabolic, because under those conditions, only a very few players are actually interesting to us. But yeah, when we look at today's conditions, we have the Z-score shows that Bitcoin is in an overbought territory. We started to head into a downtrend. So if I would just look at that, then I would be very careful with my altcoin positions. But let's go further and just assume that we have this chart picture right here, so you can see the next step, obviously. Now, when we have this confirmed, then we can start going into altcoins. This then leads us to the optimizing step, because most people just buy stuff from Twitter, or they think, okay, because this project has such good fundamentals that it will go up eventually, or you are maybe in a position that you hold for a long time and you are underwater and you ask yourself, okay, should I rather wait till the coin goes up again? And I hate to break it to you, if you are currently underwater, most people think they lose money only if they sell the position at a loss, but you already lost money. So regarding the question if you should follow this framework regardless of the positions that you're currently in, then the answer is yes, because this framework will give you a system. And what most people need is certainty. Like, you need something that you can follow in order to improve. If you don't have a system, then you are likely just buying based on a gut feeling. And the chances for you making money are like uncertain. You don't even know the number. So having a system allows you to like keep track of everything and building something that actually works. Now, our first step is what we call the major battle. Now, for every altcoin investment, we want to achieve a higher return than for holding our benchmark major coin. But first, we have to figure out which of the major coins is actually our dominant major coin. To do that, we run a little contest. Now, first, what is a major coin in crypto? There are only 3 major coins in crypto, and those are Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. If you think that other coins also fall into this category, the answer to that is very simple, it's no. And the reason for that is that the volatility of those coins is like unpredictable. Like, for example, with XRP, obviously, yes, XRP went up from time to time, but it was always like news driven. There was like no like bigger long-term interest in the coin, only at certain events or prior to those certain events where insiders bought into XRP. Now, for that reason, we solely focus on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And for like analyzing them, we just, again, use the super trend to determine which of the 3 or which of the 2 that we're going to look at is currently winning. So first of all, the battle number 1 is Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Now, back in the days, we saw that Bitcoin is actually losing against Ethereum. And we can assume that based on the super trend indicator. We don't go way deeper into like chart analysis here. We just like watch the super trend, and this is like our leading indicator. So right now, on this picture right here, on this chart picture right here, we see that Bitcoin chart is trending downwards versus Ethereum, meaning that if it would go in the other way, or in the other direction, as we saw it right here, then Bitcoin was performing better than Ethereum. And right now, Ethereum is performing better than Bitcoin. Now, if you look at the chart today, we actually see that this is still the case. So this is the same chart, just in the other direction. So it's Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And we see that Ethereum is still in an uptrend against Bitcoin, but we get close to this line right here, which like when the chart closed below it, then Bitcoin might actually be the dominant major during this time. Now, I will also show you how you could have caught virtuals using that same methodology or that same method later in the video. So we run the little contest, and right now Ethereum wins against Bitcoin, so Ethereum gains 1 point, and that's important. You want to have a scoreboard where you track like this little contest. Now, battle number 2 is Ethereum versus Solana. And what we see right here is that Ethereum is clearly winning against Solana and is in an uptrend against Solana. If we head over to the chart picture, we see that it's currently still the case. So Ethereum is outperforming Solana, so Ethereum is our dominant major. But we can also run the last contest to just confirm everything. So Ethereum wins plus 1 point. Battle number 3 would be Solana versus Bitcoin. And we see that Bitcoin is winning that rate or battle against Solana. So Solana is in a downtrend against Bitcoin. Bitcoin wins, so Bitcoin gains 1 point. Now, when we look at the scoreboard, we see that Ethereum has 2 points, Bitcoin has only 1 point, and Solana has 0 points. So the result is pretty clear. Ethereum is our strongest major and becomes our benchmark. Now, what is a benchmark? A benchmark is basically like if you go higher risk, like I will give you a visualization of that concept. Now, imagine you have a mountain next to a fast route or fast track. So now you can decide to either go through the risky mountain route or on the fast track to reach your target. Now, the risky mountain route only becomes interesting if you arrive at your target faster. And for most people, what they do is they head into the mountain route and don't think about like the risk of it, and just see that they potentially become or potentially get earlier to their target. Now, what that method shows you, or what we will like show you with this like narrative playbook, is the fastest mountain route. And most people just pick based on like Twitter engagement or stuff like this. So what we want is the fastest mountain route, and the fast track in our case right now is Ethereum. So Ethereum is the fastest route to our target, or gives us like the fastest route to our target. And we will compare every mountain route now against Ethereum, not against Bitcoin, not against Solana. If Solana would have won, Solana would have been the fast track that we use as the benchmark to analyze the other mountain routes. Now, once this is clear, we go into the narrative battle. Now, for the narrative battle, we want to understand like which narrative is showing signs of outperformance against Ethereum. And this is also where we are going to place our high-risk bets. To select the narrative you want to use for this battle, you can do a couple of things. Option one is that you use, for example, the mindshare. You can head over to Dexu to like find the top 5 contenders. Option two is just to head over to CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap and just check out the best performing categories over the past 7 days. Option three, which is a bit more advanced, you use common knowledge on which categories have the highest potential, like from a fundamental perspective. For the sake of this video, we will keep it a bit shorter, and we will just go with the following narratives, which is general AI, AI agents, and RWA. If I would think about that video like today again and would like say, okay, I want to have a bit more work, then I also would add like, for example, DeFi on Ethereum and stuff like this. So you could expand all of this way more, but the theory stays the same. So now the next part is important. We want to create an index. Now, what you don't want to use is to use a static index, meaning if you look, for example, at the S&P 500, they have certain criteria. Stocks have to meet, or companies that are listed on the S&P 500, they have to meet like certain criteria. Otherwise, they will get kicked out of the S&P 500, and a new company gets into the S&P 500. So for our index creation for those 3 categories, we also want to create certain criteria. So this could be, for example, trading volume, market cap, age, volatility. All of this stuff is something that you want to monitor in order to like have a living index. So for our example, or for our indexes, we want to have a market cap above 100 million and a volume above 100 million. And also it should be like one of the 3 best performers versus Ethereum over the past 7 days. I actually included like another like stable player in this like category. So for example, for real world assets, I picked Ondo, even if it doesn't fall into the 3 best performer category, doesn't fulfill the 3 best performer criteria. So like all I want to say is don't use static indexes. Like there are indexes out there for like crypto, but most of the time they don't update the index. Like there are still coins in there from 2017, like for example, BET from the Brave browser, which hasn't shown any signs of action. So you want to have an active index. You want to have an index which actually represents the reality and not the past. So another thing that you don't want to do is select based on personal preference. Like create criteria and solely select based on them. And later on, you can revisit your criteria if a coin within a certain category outperformed and you haven't picked it. Like if that's the case, you know why you haven't put it into the index. So maybe you're missing a criteria and you can further improve that framework that I just giving you. So this way you can improve bit by bit by bit by bit. And most people, like when they make a mistake, they don't know the reason for the mistake. And they just say, I missed this coin. I have to follow another influencer who was talking about it very early on. And then you follow this new influencer, but overall, like your strategy didn't improve. Now you need to have a strategy. You need to have criteria in order to improve. You need to have like something which is written down on a paper, like I did with the narrative playbook. And then you can continue to improve this framework. And at one point, you will have a working framework. And what I'm giving you right now is already a working framework. So another thing that you don't want to include is coins with overlapping categories where the public doesn't view them as a coin within that category. So for example, Fetch AI is the top coin based on market cap within AI agents. Now, if you ask someone what is like the biggest player in AI agents and they have some like understanding of how the space works, then they will say virtual and not Fetch AI. Fetch AI is viewed as an AI coin, as an AI general coin, and which is why I put it into the general AI category and not the AI agents category. So you have to have some understanding. You can, for example, head over to CoinGecko and just like look at the categories where CoinGecko is placing this coin into. And if you are a bit more advanced, you can also filter based on correlations. So for Fetch AI, for example, you could head back to December last year where AI agents went through the roof and just check out like how well did Fetch AI perform throughout this season. And if like I can directly show it to you, directly open that chart. So when we head back to December in 2025, let's take the 1st December and we look at the performance. Obviously, it performed pretty decent, like from the 5th to the 15th of December. Like this is not the whole of December. Let's make it fair. So here's the 1st of December. Let's say we entered at the close. All right. So this is the 31st December. It actually lost value throughout that time. So when you look at, for example, virtuals in that same time frame, let's say we started the 1st. Let's say we start here. We head over to the 31st December. Now it did a 2x. You see the difference, right? So you want to check out like when did this narrative really go through the roof, and did Fetch AI, for example, actually followed this narrative, or did it follow another narrative? So did it follow maybe the general AI narrative more than the AI agent narrative? So this is something that I would do or highly recommend you doing, because otherwise you will create indexes which are not showing the reality or not showing you if a narrative is actually going through the roof, or if it's getting drawn or if it's getting slowed down by a coin which is not seen as an AI agent coin. Now, this is important. Again, like head over to CoinGecko, just check out like if it went up as much as other coins within that category, and then you can like quickly identify for older coins if they are part of this newer like narrative. Another filter that you can use is if, for example, AI agents was a theme in November 2024 and Fetch AI already exists for like 5 years, then maybe you could like also use that as a filter in terms of, okay, people say it's an AI agent, but like it's not the AI agent project. So, but if you use that for your index creation, you're already like getting pretty good indexes. Now, what you want to do then is to create a chart or index chart in TradingView. This is something a lot of people don't know, but you can actually create like charts. So what you want to do is, for example, let's take our example right here. Let's just take that. So what you can do is, let's say you want to compare or you want to put SARB, KTA, and Ondo into your real-world asset index based on the criteria you set before. So what you do then is to like select a spot pair. And I personally, like, because we don't need volume right now for what we are doing, you could, for example, just take the spot crypto pair from TradingView, because those usually have the longest trade or chart history, which gets important in a second. So for KTA, we have it, but I know that the history isn't too long. And for Syrup, maybe we also have it. Sadly not. Usually, like one of the exchanges, is a little hack, who lists a coin quite early, is either Bybit, but we don't want the perpetual contracts right here. We want the spot pairs. So another one which lists coins early, like usually also MAXC, even if I don't recommend that exchange for trading. And then we have KuCoin. We can try KuCoin, see how it goes. Yeah, pretty bad. All right, so I'm not sure which one I chose for my index creation. I think Binance. All right, let's do that again. So what you don't want to do is press enter while you're creating those indexes. You want to wait till you selected or until you connected this. You can click on Syrup and then you want to connect it. So let's take crypto, Binance, Spot, DeFi. Yeah, let's take that. All right, then might be a problem with one of the other charts actually. No, we have more history. So you see the history is still pretty young because KTA was a newer coin. Now we can still use that. We can work with that and start the narrative battle. Now what we want to do is to let the index fight versus the dominant major. Now in our case, we will use the dominant major or the index, AI index versus the Ethereum major. All right, so the AI index currently is losing against the Ethereum or against our benchmark, which is Ethereum. So here the AI index would win no points. Now, if we go into the next round, we will let the AI agent index, never mind. So AI index is losing. This is the AI general index. And here the AI agent index wins against Ethereum because we see an uptrend. And we use the super trend indicator for that. We see that the AI agent index is in an uptrend against Ethereum. We don't have that much history. If we head over to our updated version, we have a bit more history, and with that history, we would also see that the AI agent index is actually losing against Ethereum. But when I recorded this video, I think this was somewhere around here, we actually were able, it was in an uptrend. We will work with that for a second. I will walk you through the current real world example. This is a bit delayed. So here, we take the RWA index and let it fight against Ethereum. Here, RWA wins, and we will create our first, this is the first round of the narrative battle. Now, here, your scoreboard currently shows you that the AI agent index is winning, that the RWA index is winning, and both have 1 point. AI general has 0 points. Now, let's head into the next round. So, index versus index. And this then shows us which of those indexes you want to allocate your high risk capital into. Now, RWA versus AI agents currently is in a downtrend for RWA. So AI agents, based on that, win against RWA. So the AI index gains 1 point. Now then we have the AI agents versus AI general. And again, AI agents win and they receive another point. Now AI now fights against RWA, and what we see right here is that the RWA index wins against AI agents or AI general, the AI general category, and then this leads to our new dominant index or the scoreboard for our dominant index category. Now, we see that AI agents gained 3 points throughout the whole competition, RWA gained 2 points, and AI general gained 0 points. So we have 2 categories that we could theoretically monitor and look for potential entries. But for the sake of this video, to keep it a bit shorter, we will just focus on AI agents for now. So the narratives topic. So here, what we are trying to do is to figure out what the strongest coin within this narrative is right now. So we only have 3 coins right now in this index. You could obviously also increase that. But for the sake of this video, again, we will just look at like the top 3 players or at 3 players alone. The principle that you should follow here is that money attracts money. So top performers usually attract more capital and stay the top performer. Like you maybe saw it with like AI agents in December or in October. Like there were obviously some players which gained a lot of money, but there were also a lot of like AI agents out there who haven't attracted a lot of capital and didn't went as much like upwards as the main players within this category. So money attracts money, and you want to be invested in the strongest player within that category. Now, to figure out which of the coins are interesting within our index, we again run a little contest. So we basically follow the same process that we followed in the major battle. We will use the super trend to identify who of the 3 coins, we have virtual, AIXBT, and cookie, who of those 3 actually is winning the AI agent index race. Now, here we see that virtual is winning against AIXBT, so it's in an uptrend against AIXBT. Virtual gains 1 point. Now, cookie versus virtual shows a downtrend, which then leads us to say, okay, virtual wins 1 point for virtuals, or another point for virtuals. And AIXBT versus cookie shows that cookie is actually winning against AIXBT, which then leads us to say AIXBT wins, and we have 1 point for AIXBT. The final scoreboard looks like this. Virtual gains 2 points, AIXBT gains 1 point, and cookie has 0 points, which leads us to say that we will definitely not buy cookie right now. We might think about a position in virtual, and we might think about a position in AIXBT. So to verify that we can open a position in virtual, we have to compare it again against Ethereum, because as you if you remember the earlier story of Jake, we don't want to buy the top. Now, when we let this contest run, when we do this little comparison, we see that virtual is actually in a downtrend against Ethereum right now, which shows us that we are currently, if we would think about an investment into virtuals right now, you would be too late. So chances are high that you would lose money, and following this system, or purely following this system, would lead you to say, I don't open a position right here. If you still want to enter, then you would act outside of the system. Now, the principle that you need to follow is to be patient, wait for your best shot, because most people, they always want to be allocated. And right now, what you can read out of the system is that if Ethereum was still the major coin right now, then you could allocate to Ethereum, but I would be cautious when it comes to altcoins, because we don't have the conditions right now to go higher risk. So this, in fact, also leads to you understanding, okay, when is the right time to hold altcoins, and when should I be allocated to the major and protect my capital? And right now, even if I would love to show you that right now is a good time to enter virtuals, it is simply not the time for buying virtual, because it's in a downtrend and we can't buy it. We don't want to open a position and stay sidelined, or you can allocate to a safer bet right now and go into buying a Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now, you can look for more aggressive entries. So what you can do is classify the entry that you are currently looking at. So for example, if we would go down for example, to the 4-hour time frame, and would say, okay, let's try to look at that. Maybe we have better signals over there. Now we don't. But maybe at the 6th of June, you had a signal for virtuals that the super trend actually went. The super trend here on the 6th of June actually went green against Ethereum. So you could have said, okay, because of this lower time frame confirmation, you enter with an aggressive entry, but you decrease the position size because the entry is way more risky, and we only have a confirmation on the 4-hour chart. So when we look at the the daily chart, we see that Ethereum is actually virtual is in a downtrend against Ethereum. So we don't have the best possible entry right now. You also see that the Z-score of the 50 daily moving average is actually or was oversold or overbought, showed us like overbought areas. So we don't want to enter right now. We don't want to be like extremely risk on right here and stay away from risk. Now, to show you that this system actually works, and I'm not just talking like bullshit, let's head through the whole system again in speed mode. So let's only look at the charts and think about, okay, what is currently, or what was going on in this time frame right here. So at the 19th of April or the 20th of April, Bitcoin actually went in an uptrend. So one of the conditions met, and we started to see that the 50-day moving average, like the z-score of it, slowly started to like go up. And based on that, we could have said, okay, right now, maybe we can enter a bit more aggressively. So when we then do the major battle, let's just quickly look at the time frame. So we started here at the 22nd or 21st of April. Now, when we look at the 21st of April, let me quickly go here, 21st of April, we see that Ethereum is actually losing against Bitcoin. So Bitcoin gains 1 point. When we look at Ethereum Solana, the 21st of April, we also see that Ethereum is losing against Solana. So Solana is actually a stronger contender. And here we have the Solana benchmark. So we see that Solana was actually in green territory when it comes to the super trend against Bitcoin. So Solana would actually win the benchmark battle. Now, when we head into the Solana like benchmark battle against AI agents, we see that AI agents were in an uptrend against Solana for the whole time. So this leads us to say, okay, maybe we can look into AI agents. And when we run the narrative battle during this time frame, okay, for RWA, we would need like another index, but we would also create another index for that time because we are like trying to look like we have those certain criteria. And let's just say the AI agents, like they won against AI during this period. And we can actually say, okay, based on that, we are going to look into AI agents more closely. Now, when we run this battle, again, we would need to look like maybe also at other coins, but we saw that Virtual is actually gaining or winning against AXBT. AXBT is, let me quickly check that out. So it was losing at that time and point against Cookie, and Cookie was losing against Virtuals. Now, when we look at Virtuals at the 21st of April, we actually see that this was an amazing entry. So we could have said right here that we either wait for the confirmation right here, or like that we enter Virtuals aggressively. And now I will give you a bonus for staying so long. So first of all, Virtuals, definitely this was like a very, very decent entry. Let's say we entered at the 22nd of April because I wasn't like really, really precise. Now, let's say like we wanted to sell at the 8th of May. Now you might wonder, okay, how do we do that? Like this was an amazing entry, but right now Virtuals is already heading in a downward trend. Now, how can I sell, or how can I use this move and actually play a narrative? Because like entering a narrative and at the right point is one part of the story, but selling it at the right time is also another part of the story. So, or like one of like even like when it comes to like importance, it's definitely also one of the important steps. Now, remember this period right here. So it's the 8th of May and 9th of May. So both would have led us to make a 3x with Virtuals. And this, by the way, was also one of the signals that we were following. So Virtuals against Ethereum. So remember, we will look at the chart of Virtuals against Ethereum, and we see that an entry around the 21st April, like you wouldn't have bought the bottom, which is fine. But you would have entered like a pretty decent level. Now, what you see again, like the major battle was changing or was shifting at the 8th of May. So From here on out, BTC wasn't the major coin anymore, so it becomes a bit complicated. But BTC started to lose the battle against Ethereum, so Ethereum became our benchmark. Now, when we head now again into the chart of virtual against Ethereum, we can also use it as an exit signal. So how do we do that? So again, we keep it very simple. We don't want to overcomplicate things. What you saw right here is that virtual was going into a downtrend and against Ethereum. And look at that date. It's actually the 8th of May. And when we go back, when was a perfect time to sell? 8th of May, maybe 9th of May. Maybe you looked at it a bit too late. So you could have made a significant amount of money following this system. And even if it doesn't give you an entry right now, that's correct. So it would have given you like 3 to 4x entry on virtuals, which is amazing. And without doing research, without even looking at the projects, without even understanding what they are, you would have made a significant amount of money. Now, this is the power of a system. And now you could go on and like further improve it. Like you could say, okay, like we have some flaws inside of the system right now. It's like when we look at this index, for example, like we have like not enough history. So you could say, okay, I want to have more history, so I have more certainty when it comes to my entries and the analysis of the super trend, for example. So you could say, okay, I only take coins which have like certain history and trading views, so I can like securely say that the system is working properly and we don't have like technical flaws. So this is one thing that you could do. We haven't talked about position sizing yet. So this is another thing that you need to figure out in order to like play narratives in the right way. You could, for example, say virtuals is like the strongest contender, which is why I put most of my high-risk capital into virtuals. And then, but I also look at RWA plays, and because they also showed some strength. And I position myself over there with a bit less capital because right now virtuals is like the strongest one. But maybe there are other players as well. So we only looked at like a part of the system or part of a complete system. And what we actually did with CGP right now is to launch a full system or blueprint so everyone can build up those types of systems and start invest systematically. Because if you are still like uncertain about the future of your coin, you are not investing, you're gambling. And I always hear this, like people say, okay, I will sell when I'm at break even, then I maybe go out of crypto or maybe purchase myself an education so I become better. But the reality is like you don't know what is going to happen. As you've seen, like today, the charts actually tell us not to buy and to like sell all our positions. If you are not looking at stuff like this, you will continue to lose money. And crypto is brutal. It doesn't like, virtual doesn't care about your entry. So if you enter virtuals at $2.40, like no one, like the coin has no emotions. Like maybe it goes back there at one point, but not because you hope that it will go back there. And there's like the fundamental value of most coins, even if they promise you the best thing, to be the best thing in the world, like the chances are really low that they are ever going to achieve like some form of adoption because we're so early in this market. And right now, what you want to have is a system that measures relative strength. And everything else is noise. And every Twitter guy out there has its own system. Like they don't think in terms of, okay, this looks good out of a fundamental perspective. Maybe because they can sell those types of projects better to you. And I've worked in this scene. I know exactly how those guys take. Maybe they are nice guys on a personal level, but they're also like their target is to make money, and they know exactly if they have a fundamentally strong project, then they can sell it better to you. And you are just falling for those like marketing schemes. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to fall for those marketing schemes. You want to have a system that allows you to constantly outperform the market. And this is a system that outperforms the market. And for the ones who are interested in the more like technical side of things, like Sharpe ratio and maximum drawdowns and so on and so forth, I can maybe make another video on that, but for now, I think that's enough. So with that being said, I hope this system was helpful to you. I think I never shared so much practical value on my YouTube channel before. So my target is to hit the price target of Bitcoin in terms of subscribers within the next, let's say, 12 months. So right now it's at 105,000. So the faster we reach that, or the faster we gain subscribers, the lower the target is. So I don't hope that we have to wait till Bitcoin reaches 1 million, and gaining 1 million followers is definitely interesting, but 105,000 sounds like a really, really good target. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly appreciate everyone who's following this channel. I try to deliver the highest amount of quality and value within those videos. I won't sell anything to you in terms of this coin is good, this coin is bad. I will show you actual knowledge on how to invest. And if you want to like get to the next level and work closer with us, you have the possibility to join CryptoGameplan. But as you see, I'm also sharing a bunch of value on YouTube, so this is already gaining an edge. So with that being said, I see you in the next video, and